and welcome back to another episode of the Youth Ministry Booster Podcast, hanging out in the garage with, listen, sometimes we bring in people for the freshness of their experience. Sometimes we bring in the sages from the lands far off, from 3 blocks over. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Joseph Kellogg, everybody. Yes, come on, brother.
What up?
Hey, man, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Dude, it is so good to have you on the show. It's so good to have you with us. Thanks for making the long drive across 71st Street.
Yeah, 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Got us here, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's not fair. There's a whole journey behind actually getting you here to Tulsa, and so we're gonna do a little bit of prologue before we do podcast.
Yeah,
So Joseph is here with us today. Finally got him in the garage. We've been friends online for a long time.
Yeah.
We've been swimming in youth ministry circles for 15 years in different directions. We were trying to count the other day over breakfast. Just like we've had touch points in Oklahoma and other places, but we're now both back here.
That's right.
In Tulsa, doing the thing. So Joseph, lead youth pastor for Victory Church.
Yes, sir.
Founder of HYM, friend of the podcast, friend to youth ministers everywhere. We love it.
Yeah.
So thanks for being here, bud. Yeah, man.
Dude, it's an honor, man. And I don't know when this is going to drop, but like we are a part of like Snowmageddon. I actually slid over here. I was like,
just a little boot scoop sled.
Yeah, I was whipping. Yeah.
Dude, you literally rolled up on your sled. No, that was good. That was good. So for those that are still enduring the winter storms here in January of 2026, may all your power be restored and all your water be tepid and not frozen.
Yes.
Because I know that some of our for Oklahoma, we typically we are Ice-mageddon. That is our claim to fame. Everybody else has snow. We have ice. But it seems like this time we were the benefactor of many inches of dry powder.
Yeah. Still powder out
Still
there.
powder. Still doing it. Still sledding, doing it. If you hear kids thumping around, it's because they refuse to go back to school.
That's right.
Did you come over here today just to get away from the kids?
My kids are actually in school today, but
lucky dog.
But our house, it was ready, just kids going inside, outside. So we had to get the vacuum going out last night because, it was like, all right, we're done.
Just tracking gray water into the house.
Looked like a warehouse, Yeah.
These tile floors, why are they so dirty?
So, for sure.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, man, we're glad to have you here. We're going to be talking about a lot of things in youth ministry general, but one of the things that seems to be so shared across a lot of youth ministry leaders is some kind of sense or discernment of call. And that may be for something that happened at an early age or later in life, but to end up in youth ministry is a kind of particular function or role, or to use your word, assignment, that doesn't just happen because it seemed like the most lucrative or even sometimes the most exciting. Now, it may become exciting, but my friend has been doing ministry for now, counting on the decades side of things. How did you end up in it? What keeps you in it? What about the thing that is the thing that we share?
That's so good. First off, Zach, thank you for letting me hang out in your garage.
Yeah, man, come on.
And on an amazing day here in Oklahoma, and thank you for all your years of
thanks, man.
Creating conversations for youth pastors that we know are driving down the road, listening to this, or watching online, and
getting healthy in the gym. Come on, January crowd, come on now.
That's right. But my kind of story would be, like connected a little bit to my parents. My parents got radically saved when I was a little kid. And that changed the direction of my life. And, we serve a generational God. He's the same God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so I'm a benefactor of my parents going first and committing their life to Jesus, which meant what? I was in spaces to encounter God. And so at 11 years old, at a youth convention, in a morning session at that.
Oh, okay.
This was a holy moment if it was a morning session.
When the Lord's awake, but you are not.
That's right. And so I had this very much, I couldn't articulate it then, but very much like an Isaiah 6 moment. Whom shall I send? I'm this 11-year-old kid at the time with these massive glasses, which weren't cool when I was growing up. Now they're all trendy. You're a hipster. But
Coke bottles are back,
yeah,
baby.
that's right. Yeah, when I was a kid, we were getting beat up for wearing those
Yeah,
glasses.
that's right.
But
This is what we could afford.
that's right. So I have this moment with God that very much where I say yes to the call of ministry. Didn't know what that meant, but it was full-time vocational ministry because all of us are called.
Yep.
All of us have an assignment.
Yep.
But for me, it was I'm going to give my life to the local church. Now that was at 11.
Yeah.
So teenage years start coming in,
Yeah.
and
The fullness of what that meant at 11 was yet to be discovered, but
Exactly.
blessing is those that discern. Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then I had an encounter with the Holy Spirit when I was 14, and I feel like my calling was commissioned, and then I'm one of those kids that I always say every youth pastor wish they had, like carrying their Bible to school.
You one of the good ones?
Oh,
Come on,
man.
man.
I'm talking raising money for missions,
yeah.
inviting friends. Like I was that. I just became, that student and fell in love with Jesus in a deeper way. Preached my first sermon at 14.
Come on.
But still, I was serving in kids ministry, so I thought maybe this is fun. I'm a little older than them.
Yeah.
I was teaching Sunday school with the felt board. I'm old enough to rock the felt board. And it's like, hey, boys and girls.
And we're gonna put these three gentlemen up, and this is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Put a great fire befell them. Yeah, that's right.
And here's a fourth man in the fire.
Who is the fourth man in the fire?
Or
Turn to your
Samson.
Bibles to know.
Samson's like swole,
Yeah, he's swole. You're pushing the pillars over, just
right.
like bing, bing.
Yeah.
Yep, come on,
And
come on.
So
Sorry,
I just
son
was
of a kids minister. So, dude, I am with you all the way.
So
Yes,
so I felt like, well, I'm naturally connected to kids. I'm a little older than them. I was serving at a high level as a high school student. But at 18 years old, I go and intern at a summer camp, a youth camp, 6 weeks.
Shout out to camps, by the way.
That's
because
right.
that is the speaking of 4 men in the fire.
That's right. That's right.
Camp is the furnace of church leadership.
Oh man, you'll
Forged.
You'll be in the fire, but you probably won't have many. There's not a lot of showering going on. It's
Not
a lot of
shower,
stanky,
You're looking for the fourth man. You're like,
right.
where are you, Lord?
Oh man. So yeah, interned at camp, 6 weeks of
Come on,
camp,
yeah.
and outdoor tabernacle. I'm talking,
Yes,
sweating for
yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah.
And had a
BO
moment.
for the blessed ordinance.
That's
Come
right,
on, shout it
that's
out
right.
now.
I always thought a great fundraiser. We had like the wooden pews. Like again, I'm dating myself. This is
I'm with you.
This is in the 1900s.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
And so
Tell it, Unc. Tell it.
everybody's like, he looks so cool. There's gray hair.
Oh, there
if
it is.
you're
Oh, yeah,
watching,
there it
you
is.
know.
Come on now.
And,
Yeah.
And so I have this moment. I'm watching students worship, and I just begin to weep. And again, I'm just out of high school, serving at this camp, 6 weeks in. So part of it is like, am I exhausted?
Yeah.
What? And just felt like the Lord prompting and speaking to me that you're called to this generation. Now, again, that was over 25 years ago. So generation, it's like I've went through the millennials, I've went through Gen Z, and now I'm on Gen Alpha. You're like, wait a second, Lord. But yeah, there was something happened, and I actually, kind of have a conversation with the Lord, like, hey, I think I'm supposed to do this, and I'm only 18. How am I called to students? And then the Lord just reminded me how I had a passion to reach my friends, like that calling. I just think a lot of people think, well, I have to go off and I have to do this, this, and this, and then I can step into my calling. But then you rewind the tape and watch through Scripture. Yeah, it's no, you're called now. Step into it now. Now there is training. There is some of that you're doing to study. Study and we also study ourselves to know more of God and more about Him and theology. But for me, 18 years old is when it hit, and then a year and a half later, 2 weeks before my 20th birthday, I became a youth pastor in South Side of Oklahoma City. And so I can say I was 19, but I'm talking I was knocking on 20's door.
Come on,
But there I was, became a youth pastor, South Side of Oklahoma City, walking in my calling, and that was August 2001. So this August will be 25 years. A lot of pizza.
A lot of pizza, dude. Congrats! Not everybody makes the silver anniversary.
That's
dude,
right.
That's right. We're gonna get you ringed up. We're gonna get you. That's
right.
Not everybody makes. Not everybody makes it 25.
Well, that
Come
silver
on,
anniversary is the hair.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if your hair is turning a few shades of gray,
that's right,
and silver, that's just salt and pepper, and that's just seasoning.
That's right.
Come on.
That's right.
The Lord
wisdom.
anoints and the Lord seasons.
The Lord calls it wisdom. Yeah. Just crazy enough to stick in it. So that's a little bit of the Genesis story, if you could say.
Well, we're gonna have to do a deeper dive at another time, because I do think there's some really interesting like chronicling of youth ministry history in those 20 years.
Yeah.
As somebody that started in 2007, 2008. There is something that has moved through in a pre-cell phone age,
I was there.
into a cell phone age, into a social media age,
Yeah.
into a COVID age.
Yeah.
So Joseph, tell us a little bit, 25 years in, what keeps you still excited? Like what's like, I mean, I think there's a level of competency and proficiency that comes at 25 years,
Yeah.
but ministry without competency is loose, but ministry without passion is doomed for burnout.
Yeah.
So like what keeps you passionate or excited about youth ministry as a project, at the church, at what you get to do, any of those levels?
I think, and yes, I agree. I've seen the time changing, I can, you look back and watch some of these movies, it's like, you're like, wait, I was there in that time. And that pre iPhone, that year that I started youth
Stranger
ministry.
Things only works because they have no phones.
That's right. There's a new documentary on Netflix now about this guy that, like, him and his buddies, it's really great. I don't know if I'm recommending it or not, but I have recommended it. But him and his buddies go and like find like an abandoned part of this mall, and they live in this mall for like 4 years. But it was pre-smartphone.
Okay.
And you see there were these artists, and you can see this freedom and this, anyway, yeah. So like the year I started youth ministry, the iPod came out that fall.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think, to me,
10,000 songs in your
not
pocket.
not even like that, so I'm still rocking big CD cases.
Dude. Yeah.
And so,
have you heard of a mini disc? Because the rich kids got them, and I never did.
Oh man,
mini CDs. Look it up. Yeah.
But also, we're rocking disposable cameras, which are now cool again.
Dude, right. Sorry. That was
my photography team.
We'll come back to this later, because that has got to be the blessing of 25 years. Is like you're like, oh, I've seen this. Like,
100%.
I know what to do again. Yeah.
You have to think too. It was years before YouTube.
Yeah.
So I always say this to young youth pastors. I had to like get a word from the Bible. I couldn't like go YouTube someone's sermon.
Right.
And we were years away from something called ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It was just, oh man. So how am I, like, to me, I was asked that question one time. A guy was like, hey, why, you're still in youth ministry. And this is probably like year 19, 20 or so. And he's like, why? And I said, you know what? I still love the moment that students get it. Like that light bulb clicks. Yeah. And we know the thing about stats are interesting. They've gone up and down over the years, and I'm sure LifeWay can help us with this, or someone, But it's back in the day, it was like 85% or so of people that give their life to Jesus do so under the age of 18.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact number is now, but the recent study still held that threshold somewhere between 60 something and 70%. Like it's a big deal. Like conversion of a belief system or a life trajectory happens well before 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And so that stat's gone up and down, but I've always seen that as like, man, what an advantage. We're in youth ministry, we're at the epicenter.
Yeah.
And I do think if a kid's raised in church, in kids ministry, they get to start learning foundations. They get to start learning biblical narratives and stories. But youth ministry to me is the place where they encounter.
Yeah.
And so I think I still love having those moments. I would say the older version of me, I still will. I'll sneak up there for a fast song every once in a while, and we'll, and the songs
shake the dust off a little bit.
The songs have changed over the years. We're saying goodbye to yesterday.
Yeah.
And when we used to be turning our morning into dancing.
Yeah.
And so, but it's and seeing
either way,
Lord,
sweet bass licks.
Yes, Lord. Oh yes, the grace. So it's like the songs have changed, but there's always that moment. But I would say the older version of me does find myself sometimes. As I still travel and speak at camps, kind of stepping back and just being it all, and to see that passion and go, it's beautiful when they get it. And you and I both know they're gonna face some hard times, but I also know always use Johnny. Poor Johnny. It's my illustration. He's the guy. Johnny's out there.
There's a John youth pastor somewhere using Joey.
Yeah, that's right.
In your defense.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so always, I remember one time our staff that I was working, he was like, man, Johnny's been through it, ups and downs. So
his parents got divorced 8 times.
And so I'm like, that moment that Johnny receives Christ.
Yeah.
And he's the first Christian in his family. And that is way more normal now because we're in a post-Christian culture. Johnny receives Christ and he begins to walk into the Word and finds biblical community. And next thing you know, that the way he looks for his spouse is different.
Yeah.
The way he raises his kids is different. His kids won't even know some of the pain that Johnny went through.
Yeah.
So to me, to be a part of that part of it, I've even had moments kind of getting back in the trench the way I am now that I'm like, man, I don't know, I'm getting older. And then I think I told you this when we were having breakfast. Like Nick Saban became the head coach at Alabama at 55 years old. And no one's like, oh man, he's getting old.
Yeah.
I think he rattles off 6 national championships. Yep. And so when it comes to coaches, teachers, and somehow in youth ministry, we're like, oh, it's you're getting a little old. I think passion.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't lost that because I think I still see those moments where students get it.
Come on.
And I'm excited to see that. And now I've been in it long enough I can go, I know it works.
Yeah.
If you lean in.
Yeah.
If you go on this trip.
Yeah.
If you spend the money and go to camp. It's almost like a formula. If you do these things and you truly lean in, I've now got to see the students that are now, in ministry or in a success in life, and their kids are faithfully serving Jesus. So now, I think what Steve Jobs says, it's hard to connect the dots, looking forward, but it's when you look back.
That's right.
And so now
the trail of breadcrumbs is there, man. The breadcrumbs are there.
And so I look back and you're going, yes,
absolutely.
Yes. And so that, I think, gets me more fired up because I know what's possible. Now it's frustrating too. It's like when you have multiple kids, you kind of become impatient with the younger ones where you're like, why aren't you getting this?
That's right.
And then you have moments you're like, they're going to get it. You can talk whenever you want.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
That's right.
So anyway, that was a long dissertation to be like, I think I'm still passionate because I love it when students have that moment where they truly know who they are in Christ and they live that life out.
But I think it's important to hear, man, I'm just taken with, there's been in some of the conversations we've had with some other youth ministry encouragers, coaches, teachers, professors, about how do we instill awe? No, how do we instill wonder into our teenagers? But what I heard you say that I think is so important for others to hear is that there's still awe left in you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things the youth ministry is a dangerous proposition when we see what we do as trying to inject or mold or project what this next generation needs instead of being participant enough to stand in awe of what God is doing. And that's powerful.
Well, I think too, it's like we know all, and again, everyone listening, there are so many ministries, some organizations, their whole, ideas about data and research, and I'm thankful for all that.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, I've walked through multiple generations now when it comes to I say generations like millennials and Gen Z, and even I remember a buddy of mine, Terry Partman, who's I think a brilliant mind in youth ministry, us talking about when we were wrestling through the conversations about Gen Z, they were like, we're already too late. Like by the time that research comes, we're like, oh, this is how we reach them. Like there's still stuff being released, but most youth ministries right now, like maybe your juniors and seniors are Gen Z. The rest of them are Gen Alpha.
Yeah, they're the next
and
wave,
so I all that research, all that stuff, great, good. I'm a student of it. I want to learn. I want to be a student of youth ministry. But at the same time, when you walk in proximity with students, the same pains are the same. The same thing. And so I think that's, when you're walking with them in the pain and also the gains, you actually do have a passion and appreciation and know that every Wednesday matters, or every Sunday night or Monday, whenever you gather, you're like, this matters. Johnny, his life could be changed forever, and one day he's going to have a moment and you're going to sweep his leg, Johnny. And so, but then, sorry.
Again, it was relevant the first time and then it's come back around because it's relevant again. Yes, come on. Yeah. I knew that we had made full circle a couple years ago when, again, Netflix Karate Kid show had made its way back into camp themes again. Amazing. That's it.
Yeah, the fee. Yeah, it's so funny. I think that's what's hard too is when you're in creative meetings
Yeah.
and there's things that you know works.
Yeah.
And then you have people like, I don't know about that. And you're like,
No.
this works. And the opposite is true. Where
It's middle school kids. Ninjas are ahead.
oh, that's right. That's
Sorry,
right.
guys.
Yeah.
I know that this is cooler, but I'm telling you.
Well, the other is true too. There's moments I think where I'm in meetings where I'm talking and they're like, yeah, I have this great idea. And you're like, yeah, it sounds really like, I'm just like, that's a train wreck.
We tried.
You know, and now again, I don't want to be that guy that's like always like,
Squelch it.
back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's more of like, let me teach you some of the things we learned. Hey, try it on maybe a different way. But but students are the same. And to be honest with you, there's actually a more desperate need today than ever for that community. And there's a group of parents that the ones that actually went to youth group, they want their kid to experience what they experienced.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, first off, there weren't a lot of cameras when I'm like, ramping the church van off huge speed bumps.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
And kids are like, whoa.
Yeah. The liability policies have changed.
Yeah, I wish there were cameras back. Like, there's a couple of moments that I'm like, if we would have had this, it would have went viral.
Yeah.
But you're like, it only lives in our minds.
We have disposed the disposables.
That's
yes.
right. That's right. That's right.
They never got developed.
Yeah.
But again, but the language of youth ministry becoming particularly important for a generation of folks whose parents may have known church through the lens of youth group. I think that is something. I mean, youth ministry as a thing. Call it the late 70s and 80s, the Young Life, Youth for Christ boom of stuff. But there is something about that late 90s, again, the '01 through 2010, 2015, youth ministry pre-social media, cell phone, but youth ministry pre-social media that a lot of millennial and zennial parents grew up in. And they may have come back to church for kids in youth ministry. And so they are looking, or they have eyes on a particular like image, like there is an imagination for what youth ministry is because of what they experienced. And so I think some of the wrestling with what do we do, how do we make it important, how do we make it significant, we're not just wrestling with like connecting it to the teenager, but giving some understanding to the parents that were like, no, this was like a fun thing that we did. And say, no, we actually, your student and we want to engage even more deeply in ways and that kind of stuff.
And I would say too, because you might be a young youth pastor listening and you're like, cool, bro, I didn't live that life. I was a toddler.
Yeah.
And I would say go connect to some of your parents that were a part of vibrant youth ministries. And
what's that image they're holding on to? There's something about it.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
there is. And it's funny because it's like they want their kid to like go rough it in that church van. You're like, we didn't know if that church van was going to be able to make it. You know?
Right.
But
they actually are cool with you going on a mission trip where the living conditions were safe but sketch. Like it was like a cot and a peanut butter sandwich. They're actually like, no, I wanted that for them. Or whatever.
Because it formed them.
Yeah.
And I really do think that there's like you've heard this kind of trend going around. There's different communities across America. They're like bringing landlines back.
Yeah.
And they're like, and a part of it is, hey, this is safe.
Yeah.
And I lived in the landline era. I know. But it's one of those things of it really is like parents. What are they trying to do? They're trying to go, wait, who am I today? There's so many things that are part of that. But let's go deep. Like sounds like Jewish tradition and going, hey, these are things we want to pass down to our kids.
Yeah.
And I think there are Christian parents that are going, hey, I want this for my kid. And then you have the youth pastor. It's like, oh, we're doing this trendy thing. And kids are like, cool. But that's something we could have a whole nother dialogue about and I'm thankful for LED screens. I'm thankful for lights. And I remember the early youth ministry days, we just wanted to be cool like that. But now there's this, like kids were like, no, I actually just want kind of church.
Well,
turn the lights on.
We want the church to look like church. Yeah. And that is something we are going to pin this for a future conversation because there is some interesting, and I'll share it when Aaron comes to share Lifeway research about the move to church looking more like, for better or for worse, church looks like church. Yeah. And so to say a hot take, that seeker sensitive is dead.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And sacred's on the rise. Yeah. And so that's one of those, like when we see it in like a young conservative family might be as likely to join the Catholic Church.
No, you're right.
Or a Bible church.
Yeah.
Because for them, they whatever place feeds the like, again, I had an idea of a spiritual itch that I want my family to, I want them to inherit this
Yeah.
kind of good faith or good religion
Yeah.
or good Christianity. It looks like a certain thing. And
Yeah.
that's so anyway.
No, that's right.
Okay.
I agree with you.
But we have you though for wisdom for this episode for our younger youth ministers. If you were in your first couple years now, and some of this you're coaching and working with folks on the regular.
Yeah. I do.
What do you tell folks in their first 2 to 4, 3 to 5 years of like what are some things you either have heard that you would want to spread wider, or what are some things you want to like point out for folks that are relatively new, maybe don't have the history of the legacy, and this is the first go around they've had with Jinko jeans or whatever.
Dude, it is. All those trends are coming. Kids are walking our youth ministry goth, and I'm like, whoa. Like I seriously.
Skate park? We do a skate park again? Who's gonna babysit your Tamagotchi? Are we doing this? We're doing this.
I have moments that I'm like, did I just get out of the DeLorean and I'm back?
It's back.
But there was something special about that season too that I was, because there was an era of youth ministry was like, no more clicks. And I had the philosophy that was like, make the clicks larger.
Yeah.
If that's your friend group and that's your thing, man, you're welcome here. Make it bigger.
Have the whole marching band.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Sure. Like have all of choir. Yeah.
Everyone, dye your hair. It's cool. But I was going to say to me, Doug Field's first 2 years. No, I'm just kidding. It really is good. But
it's seminal. But Doug, if you're listening, we're still waiting on year 3 through 5.
That's right. Yeah. But I would say, my first few years, I was a single youth pastor when I first became a youth pastor. And I documented my first 3 months. I was doing these I wish I would have kept
like video journals or like diaries.
It was like in my journal.
Okay,
but I was writing a tweet.
I would pay.
I was writing like a tweet before a tweet. It was just like today. Like today would be like, hey, Wednesday the date. And went and did podcasts with Zach, had youth service. So it was literally like we had
preach
this
the
many.
lights out. Yeah.
But it was like seriously 2 sentences. But I get to see kind of my I'm at junior high basketball games. I'm at volleyball. Like it is like you can see this.
Yeah.
I'm at someone's house. We're eating out. Dude, we ate a lot of Chili's back then. Like I look back and go, how these kids, how could they afford it?
Hold on. This is only for the podcast audience. Sorry, you were walking into something that you didn't know. Okay, so hard cut. Joseph Kellogg, what is your triple play at Chili's? Sorry, this has come up more than one time because there is a fandom for this, and so you're going to Chili's, me and you at the airport. I'm like, buddy, I'm buying triple dippers. What are you picking?
Oh man, I'm always gonna get wings. I'm always gonna get that queso and then the sliders. You know what I'm saying? Or the little. What is it the egg rolls?
Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah, okay, good. I was like, buddy, if you're not getting egg rolls, we can't share.
So,
dude, we ate so much Chili's 20 years ago. Yeah,
but this is what I would bring kids out and just get chips and salsa and queso.
Oh, dude,
at 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
I couldn't afford to buy you dinner.
Right.
But we were doing discipleship over that queso.
Dude, that's it. Yeah. Bottomless soda, bottomless chips.
Yeah. I'm walking out there like $12, then turning in that receipt for that reimbursement.
Stretching that budget. Yeah.
Oh man, it was thin. But yeah, I look back and I was like, I would say, if I could go back in time, as Cher would say, if I can turn back time, if I could do that, I would say slow down. And what I mean by that is, and I think I had this, and what's wild is I was a youth ministry pre-social media. But I still saw what other ministries were doing. And I had this passion to build a strong, vibrant youth ministry. And I didn't pace myself well. And so I was drinking Mountain Dews like crazy. We're rocking this thing out. But I would say slow down. And then the other thing I would probably tell myself even, to go back is that, I figured this out later on, but just how important parent relationship was and connecting them. I think I saw them as the enemy. Again, I'm 20 years old, 21 years old. I just want their student to encounter the presence of Jesus.
Yes.
And they'd be at the door going,
come on.
And I
wrap it up.
That's right. But I'm over here going, I don't know. I'm there. You don't want their kid, but they're like, well, no, they have school, they have practice tomorrow. Like tomorrow's gonna be a long day. So I think I would have engaged parents differently in my first couple of years. Maybe did like kind of what we said earlier, like sat down with more parents, like, hey, what are you looking for? Like, what's your ideal youth ministry? We're not gonna meet everyone's needs. It's
Yeah.
it's you know, it's not a buffet that you get to pick whatever. But
it's
what
your
are,
kids. You got something in mind.
what are
Let's
some
talk
of the,
about
what are
it.
some
Yeah.
of the things that
This
you
is not goods and services sold. This is
no,
partnership.
yeah. And so I think I would have early on slowed down, had a better pace, and then I would say partner with parents a little more unique. I just didn't Sabbath well. I didn't rest well. Now I look back and I look at some youth pastors. I'm like, y'all need to get with it. You know what I'm saying? Like there is work required.
This is not wholesale advice. I mean, this is because I do think there is this unique like tension of like say like you have to work hard. Ministry's hard work.
Yeah.
But ministry, sorry, let me say it this way. Ministry's heavy work. It's not hard work, but you got to do the work.
No, you're right.
And I think that's why like the emphasis on rest is so important because it is heavy. It's people and relationships and emotions. It's disappointments. It's expectations.
Yeah.
But like we're not laying slab. We're not hanging siding.
You're right.
Like, but there is an equity to it, and you've got to put the energy into it if you're hoping to see like. Youth ministry is phone calls and coffee conversations.
Oh, yeah.
It is Chili's chips.
Yeah, it's going to ball games.
It's going to ball games. It's showing up. It's being around, and like that's what carries you Sunday to Sunday. Like it is not. It is the time in between is what carries over into the next week, and you have to put that time in and have enough rest that you can show up ready.
Yeah,
and that's. I wish it wasn't a formula, but it kind of is at some level.
Well, and I think it all goes together for me. It's like I learned. I call it now calendar competency. I think me working my calendar, I started figuring that out a few years in, going like, Michael Hyatt says, what gets on the calendar gets done.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's
so
right.
I became a little more efficient in how I led myself. But having that pace and that rhythm, and yes, there's a theology of the Sabbath, but there's also a theology of work.
That's right.
It's
work and rest.
And youth ministry. I think this was early on in youth ministry. I compared myself with other departments. And I'm like, we're the only ones working out here.
Oh, yeah.
And what it was it looked that way. I'm also not the one that's doing all the funerals. I'm not doing all the but youth ministry, the group that we are called to are very active.
Yeah.
So guess what? You're going to a basketball game on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're going to a football game on it. Guess what? If you're going to a choir concert or a play.
Yeah.
Because that's where the students are.
Yeah.
And I think for youth pastors to think, well, I could just work my 9 to 5 and get in the office.
Yeah.
Think you're going to ultimately get that result. To me, if you want second mile result, you have to have second mile effort.
Come on. Yeah.
But that rhythm of rest, I just think I didn't have in my first year of marriage. My wife would have been like, "Whoa, I didn't know I signed up for this." In the sense of me finding that, and so it's taken time. But also knowing that rest is different because some people's like, well, I didn't get a day off this week, right? And I always go, what'd you do on Monday night from 6 to 10? Oh, well, I binge watched this
Netflix show.
You're like, wait, you blame the church and we have all this stuff going on, right? And you're like, no, you're not managing your margins well. And I think that's something too. I'm talking when it comes to content, when it comes to, dude, I'll pre-write post, my 23rd wedding anniversary is coming up this week.
Congrats.
And I took the margin, already have my Instagram post ready. I already
pre-wrote my man. Yeah.
But I took advantage. Like, I know it's silly, but I'm like, that's managing my margins. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this now.
Come on.
It's the whole statement I had a mentor say to me, do today what others won't so you can do tomorrow what others can't. And so if I see some guy playing golf, you're like, well, they had to do a lot of work to go out, like that hobby,
get that time,
to have that rest. Because the worst thing is when you decide like, well, I need to have some recreation, but you didn't get your work done.
Yeah.
The recreation's not as fun because you're like,
stressing.
oh man, all of us had a round of golf turn into like stress.
To turn Saturday night date night into finished sermon night is disingenuous for you and your significant other. Yes. Yeah. Well, but I think that
those would be a couple things.
The language of pace is so important because, and again, some of this you'll have to adjust as you get better at some of what we do. I think we talked about this over breakfast, like the guys that are still spending the same amount of time to write sermons now that they did the first 2 years. Like some of it should take you less time. You should pick up margin as you get better at curriculum planning or sermon writing or equipping leaders. Like it shouldn't feel like in year 4, 7, 10, like it's the first time you ever did it.
Yeah.
And so there should be, as your life changes and maybe kids are involved or other responsibilities, new hobbies.
Yeah.
Hopefully you picked up some margin along the way through some competency and proficiency that you realize that like, oh, I went to the game but I didn't have to stay for the whole game
Yeah.
because I was seeing and I spent
You're right.
halftime where I
You're
was
right.
supposed to. I did the third quarter dip,
Yeah.
and that's where I got to be back home to tuck my
Yep.
kids in for bed. And like
Yeah.
some of those things,
Yeah.
like they're just learned behaviors. And it's
And
just-
learning, you know, because I have 4 kids, you know, my wife and I, so I have 2 now in college, 1 in high school, and then I have a son in elementary school. So I have 3 daughters and a son. And it's funny, I was playing some really good golf till my oldest daughter got like 5.
sure.
Because we started doing other activities.
Yeah.
I think that's learning that everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something.
Come on. Yeah.
And everything
yeah.
you're saying no to, you're saying yes to something. And so if you look at high level leaders, they do have hobbies, they do have some things, but like I stopped playing fantasy football years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with fantasy football, but that was just another decision of getting my starting lineup in that I just didn't want to make anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's
I can no longer kick your butt in Halo.
That's right.
I used to, dude. I used to do Sydney Pro, but no longer. I now play a lot of Switch games.
That's right.
Now Mario Kart, call me.
Yeah, you still got it. Oh, you're right. Oh yeah, my son and I, we were trying to do on the Switch playing like 2K. And I'm horrible at it. I'm like, what happened?
You're like all thumbs. You're like, what's this? Isn't Madden? What's going on?
This isn't Tecmo Super Bowl.
right.
But yeah, for me, it's I think learning that and seeing it as a blessing and having gratitude. Listen, my life is more full.
Yeah.
And I love even that statement. It's not that I'm more busy. My life's more full.
Yeah.
But for me to be able to thrive in this,
Come on.
my pace matters.
Yep.
My rest matters. You know, my wife and I are going to go on a weekend getaway for an anniversary. Like those kind of things, you know, they're coming. If you know on the calendar, like, hey, summer's crazy in youth ministry.
Yeah.
If your summer's not crazy in youth
Ain't
ministry,
no denying it. But you knew that. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like it shouldn't surprise you. Like
No.
people, you know, it's summer. What did you think was gonna happen?
if I don't walk by your car and see like some Fun Noodles or something like you know, like some basketball shorts, like if your car doesn't look like summer, I don't know if you're youth
you
ministry.
were ready. Yeah, you
know
were
what I'm
ready.
saying?
You were ready. Yeah.
But summer's always like that crazy, awesome, so many memories. But it's knowing like, hey, when's my vacation at the end of this? Or when's and it's like learning those rhythms and those pace. You know, I think when I early got in youth ministry, I didn't understand all those. And so now I'm telling my calendar, you know, what to do instead of my calendar telling me what to do. So yeah, that would be some of the things.
Okay, one more little bit, and I think this is just kind of some wisdom for those engaged in ministry now. It's a new year, 2026. We're talking about a lot of things as ministry's playing out for another calendar in front of us. If you were going to give some wisdom, what do you feel like some people today in your work of coaching, working, leading, doing? What are some folks overemphasizing that they shouldn't, and what are they underemphasizing that they should bring up to level? Like where if you were going to help balance the scale, even the pace for folks, where are you seeing the pockets of like, man, I think some of y'all are overcooking it, and then for other folks, it's like I think you're neglecting the thing that actually might be the most important.
I think, and it's going to kind of come full circle from a conversation we were having earlier. Is I think we still overemphasize. We did it 20 years ago as well. I still think we overemphasize the event, the party.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like kids
the happening
will come. Yeah. It's like we overemphasize.
Kids plan them. Kids show up to them.
Oh yeah.
But that's not the end goal.
But I think the kind of a way to say it is like I think we overemphasize the party and we underemphasize the presence. And it goes back to what are students really craving. And we know this. Churches try their best to throw parties, but they're not as cool as the world's parties.
Sure.
There's different substances in the world's parties that I think make some of them better.
Sure.
We have energy drinks. That's as close as we can get in youth ministry. Like, you know,
we call it Hulk Punch. It's when you put Monster in Kool-Aid. It's Hulk Punch.
Oh man, you have some, you know, fifth or seventh grade boys like, you know.
Hands up.
I had a friend who was like, bro, junior high boys ruin everything in youth ministry. It's like they just will break stuff. But then
they're wired for it.
I was that too. But I was gonna say I think, and then I would say too is I think we overemphasize. I love social media. It's a way to tell stories.
Yeah.
And it's a way to platform the God story. But I just think maybe in a youth pastor's work week, they're like, oh man, I got to make sure that this social. And if you were to do time, like a time allotment, and you're like, well, how much did I spend time with students? And so how can I give social maybe away to students?
Yeah.
And so even I still think we're in the same dilemma that we've been in for years, even to the point of scripture of saying, hey, your responsibility is to equip the saints to the work of the ministry.
Yeah.
I still think that we have hero mentality.
Yeah.
I think youth pastors want to be that and like, oh, I can do it better and faster.
Yeah.
And I think that we're under, emphasizing having students at the table, having them be a part of shaping your youth ministry, and creating space. I talk to youth pastors all the time. Hey, did you give an opportunity for students to respond to Jesus? Oh man, I'm like, I don't care if you have 20 or 200, you have to create space for them to say yes.
Yeah.
So emphasize that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life in a world that is trying to give them other options.
Yeah.
And so I think, and then creating space for them to hear from the Lord. Tonight we're recording this on a Wednesday. So we have youth ministry tonight, and
getting ready.
We're doing a 2-week series called Goodbye Yesterday. The first week was about Elijah calling Elisha, and Elisha burning his plows. And so we kind of said, like, what are the plows that you need to burn? And kids wrote them down, and it was like fear, lust, all those things. We actually got to do kind of our own data, research on our students. Like, man, they're carrying a lot of stuff. And then this week is like, well, then you have this moment of double portion. That what are you picking up? What are you? And so tonight we're creating space, because there's a moment in that text where, Elijah's like, "What do you want from me?" And he's like, I want a double portion of what you got. And he says this statement: "You've asked a difficult thing." And so tonight we're giving space for students to ask a difficult thing. What's the thing that you want God to do that only He can do? But again, that's creating space for them to have a moment with the Lord that hopefully gives energy to their purpose and kind of this fuel for that. And I just think a lot of times we don't think with the end in mind in youth ministry. Think about it. The opener was killer.
Yeah.
And hey, have you planned what the response time? Oh man, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah.
And so I think it's still
we have
something
all
that's
our notes
happened
written down except for the last bit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Alter, and it's like blank. Oh, I'll just. And it's funny.
I'll wing it.
No, seriously, and that's what we've done. And we've that's why we don't have great pathways for students. And how are we helping them walk this Jesus thing out? So I think if you were to look at your work week, what are you putting your energy into? And then asking yourself, like, where's your ROI, your kingdom ROI on that?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying it's both and. It's not, no, I heard him, no more social media. No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Do so, like, hey, do events. Like, there's something about that gets students in. Create invite moments.
Yeah.
But just when you look and you kind of look at your 2026, and I would even do this back in the day. I would color coordinate like sermon series. Like, are we just all kind of topical?
Yeah.
Are we actually helping students know what it looks like to pray?
Do
Do they know why we worship?
Yeah.
And so what's that look like? How are you creating? I always think about like a cafeteria, the old school you have the for the square pizza, which was the best, by the way.
Yeah.
And then you had like, you got your corn over here, your spot for your chocolate milk. And I think about youth ministry is like man, what's that plate look like? And is it all just stacked up on one thing, or is there kind of a balanced meal that you're presenting for students so that they can live a life that's a healthy, vibrant life for Jesus? So that was a little dissertation sermon kind of. But yeah, I think there's a tension that we have to manage.
But it's a healthiness, and I think it's one of those. It's the role to shepherd, whether your title is pastor, minister, or director. The role of shepherd, caretaker, leader is to be someone that sets that agenda, whether it's in content or community, event, calendar, organization, to be mindful, not just of what we hope they get, but what we think they really need. And I think that is one of the things that I would share of 20 years of youth ministry history, that there is something happening right now where students are legitimately hungry.
Yeah, they are.
Like legitimately hungry. And you need to be mindful of what they're hungry for. And I think some of the tension that we feel is that we're feeding them maybe out of the image of what we had in ministry instead of a deep understanding of where they're at, of what they're dropping and what they're needing and what they're picking up, what they're feasting on. And it's gotta guide us. It's gotta guide us in the work that we're doing. It's gotta guide us in the rhythm of our week, and it's gotta guide us in the years that we serve together. So, amen.
It's interesting too. You've heard this 100 times, so have I. if you were to ask, like, what do you remember about youth ministry? No one's ever going to say, man, my pastor's sermon.
Yes.
Woo,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
With all due respect,
That's all due right. respect,
because I had a good one too. Yeah, I know.
You're like, wait, that illustration was rad. It was cool.
Yeah.
But what they do remember is
something about like rocks and rivers. I forget.
That's right. He was on a ladder.
Yeah. There were two ladders.
That's right. It's so 25. But I was going to say, it's like, they don't remember, but they remember those moments.
Yeah.
And always say to me, if you want like well, all right, Joseph, where do I start? Acts 2:42 through 47 to me is the template, the archetype for church and youth ministry. What they do, they devote themselves to the word.
Yeah.
They worshiped. They shared everything they had. They ate some food. All right. So you can have
come
some
on.
pizza.
You're welcome. Come on. Yeah.
And so it's like
square if you can.
That's right. And then at the end of that, it said the Lord added to their number. And it's like, wait, there's all these, again, we're on a podcast. There's all these podcasts. There's all these conferences. You have a conference, I have a conference.
Yeah.
Like all these things, books and all these resources. But Acts 2:42 through 47, if you were to look at that and make that your checklist on how to do youth ministry, I just think that, man, it's not just going to please God, but you're going to see fruit and fruit that remains.
It's good, man. Joseph, thanks for being with us. We're going to see you back again soon because we love our time together. So thank you so much for being with the folks. For everybody else listening, we'll see you back next week on the Youth Ministry Booster podcast as we talk about what it's like to be new with some new rhythms for you.
Let's go.
Snap.